Welcome to Vic's Sewing Corner. I'm Vic. So I'm creating this YouTube channel because I love historical fashion, anywhere from the Vikings up until the 1940s and 50s. I love that in our time we can look back at thousands of years and choose what we want to make, what we want to wear. It's just so great that we have all this knowledge to look back on. My hope is that with my channel, I can hopefully teach some of you guys how to create certain period pieces. Now, I'm quite new to costuming. I've only been doing it for about a year, so I'm not that great. But hopefully my struggles and my successes can help everyone here. So for my first video, I'm gonna make a 18th century cap and a kerchief. The first thing that I'll be making, it's going to be a kerchief, or fichu as some would call it, which was just a triangular piece of fabric, usually linen, and it could have been plain or embroidered. And what it was used for was one of two things. First, it was used as something for modesty. As bust lines got lower, women needed something to keep them decent. So this is what it was used for, as well as keeping the sun off women's shoulders and necks during the summer and hot months if they were working. So it's quite simple to make. Now, to get the measurements for the kerchief, what you do is you measure your shoulder span. So mine's about 15 inches. And then I added an extra 10 inches onto each side. So that got me a total of 35 inches for the widest part of the triangle. The 10 inches on each side is so that the kerchief can come off my shoulders and go down to cover my chest and be tucked into a pair of stays or a bodice. Now I have some white cotton muslin laid out, and the next part would be to measure your length. My fabric just happens to be 35 inches across. So if yours is longer than your length, then you're going to want to mark it with a fabric pen or chalk. Now, to get the length of your kerchief, what you're going to do is measure from your hairline down to wherever you want it to go. And then I just doubled that because when you pull it over your shoulders and tuck it in, that reduces some of the length that's going to be on your back. And then you're just gonna connect the lines from your mark to the edge of your fabric. Then, with a sharp pair of sewing scissors, just cut the fabric. Now what you're gonna wanna do is hem the raw edges. Now you can either do this with a machine or you can do it by hand. I'm choosing to do it by hand just because it's slightly more historically accurate. Now, typically, if you're going for real historical accuracy, you would use linen thread, which would be lined with beeswax. I personally don't have any beeswax on hand, so I'm just going to be using some white cotton thread. Now I'm going to be doing a rolled hem. So this is the finished kerchief or fichu. As you can see, it drapes around the back, comes up over the shoulders, and I tucked this into my pinafore apron. And there you go for that. Now for the cap, what we're gonna wanna do is make a half circle or more of a half oval. And then we're gonna have a small band and then another rectangular piece that we're going to pleat to make the ruffles. And then I also added a small piece of yellow silk. I don't think mine is real, but it looks real and it just kind of adds more to the cap, as you can see. So I'll show you how to draft all these. So for the length of the cap, just taking this tape measure and wrapping it around my head. And this is about how much it should be when it is completely gathered and finished. So I measured mine at about 20 inches. So I've cut out the caul, and as you can see, it is not quite a semicircle, and I made mine about 22 inches long, and that is what it looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a casing here for a drawstring and create eyelets. And I do not own any string that is commonly used as a drawstring. I do have yarn here, so that is what I'm going to be using to gather the back of my cap. So I am laying my string out like this to see where I'm going to put my eyelets and make sure that it is long enough. I'm also going to tie it off here, and I'm going to fold the hem up, and I'm going to make a casing. I made a very small hole right there, and I'm going to be using embroidery thread to create an eyelet. So I'm just going to go around it quite a few times with my embroidery thread until I get what looks like an eyelet. Now, it's definitely not the neatest of eyelets, but there it is, pinned in place.
Windshield, not leaving.
Next, what we're gonna wanna do is a rolled hem while gathering at the same time. So now what we're gonna wanna do is cut out two rectangles, one smaller and one larger. One's gonna be for a band and the other one is going to be for the ruffles. So this is the cap so far. This is gonna be the band and this is going to make the ruffles. So the band is going to get sewn on there, and then the ruffles are going to get sewn onto the band. So what I'm doing now is hemming the top of the band, and then I'm pinning the ruffles to the bottom of the band. And I'm gonna sew that all into place. I'm gonna sew it onto the cap. So this is what the cap looks like, and you can either leave it this way or you can take some silk and put it here, and based off of different historical paintings, there can either be a bow or it can just be plain silk. Or for more lower class, working class women, the cap would have just been white as it is and would not really have had any extra embellishments. But I'm going to be adding some yellow silk-like fabric to mine. So I'm going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to hem the edges, and then I will sew it on. And I'm not going to do a bow just because I don't like how that looks. But by all means, if you want to dress up or dress down your cap, you're definitely able to. Okay, so this is the fichu, which goes like this and could be pinned into place or could be tucked into a shirt. And then this is the finished cap. Drawstring in the back. And this is the two combined. So definitely 18th century. They were both sewn completely by hand using historical methods of sewing. So I really hope that you guys liked this video, and I hope that it was helpful. And if you want more historical costuming videos, then please press that subscribe button and like. Also comment anything that you want me to make. I believe that my next project will be making a pair of 18th century stays, so stay tuned for that.